Welcome, guys, to another trading review. This is your boy Andre, and this week has been an amazing week. Yeah, it has. I took 5 trades, one each day. I stopped right after it. All right. So one trade a day keeps the 9 to 5 away. Let's start right on to it. So the first trade was on Monday on gold. What do we have here? Okay, so the 4-hour was bearish. Okay, the next one. So the one that I took my entry on made the top wick, and at that time it was flipping, right? So my entry was on the flip of the 4-hour candle. So let's move on to the 1-hour. All right, so the 1-hour, we had this resistance right here, okay, with this huge rejection wick. And I took my entry on this one. The previous one had closed bullish, but right below the resistance, right? So below the resistance closure, and this one wicked up, made a high, broke the previous high, and now it started to come back down. Okay, so moving on to the 30. Okay, so the 30 closed bullish, this one right here, okay, but as you can see, it also closed below this area. So the next one went up, made the high, broke the previous high too, and now it started to break its own lows on the 30, right? We had clean range up until this area right here. My entry was based on the 15. So on the 15, we had a closure below all these areas, right? So, you know, yeah, you can consider this a fake out, inverted salary, whatever you want, right? The point is, it made a high, broke the previous highs, and closed back below the range. The next one wicked up, tapped these areas, and broke the previous lows. So I took my entry right here on the break of these lows, all right? So my partials was on this yellow line, where you can see there's a lot of mass to the left here, and full TP was this week's to the left too. All right, so it tapped my partials and stopped me out at break even. Keep in mind that, and guys, this is what I'm about to say is really important. This is something I say on my live streams too. But when you take a trade on the 15 and you are against the 30, you gotta wait for this break of highs. All right, you gotta wait for this, okay? Because if you don't have that, the probabilities for the 15 bearish closure to be the current bottom week of the 30 is higher, right? So you taking a sell right here on the 15 where price didn't break the previous high, it's riskier, right? So you got to wait for the previous high to be broken. So now what you have now is price, breaking the highs and rejecting and coming back down. So now you're taking this sell on the 15. But if you don't have the break of the highs, and you're taking this sell on the 15 right here, this can just be the lower week of the 30, right? So that's, it's an healthy 30. So it wants to go up. You're taking the sells right here, and it wants to go up, right? So you got to wait for this break of highs if you want to take an entry on the 15 against the 30. So moving on to the second trade, it was on a Tuesday. Let me see. So the 4-hour was bearish. All right, we kind of broke below this area right here on the 4-hour, but the current one went down, broke the previous lows, and now it started to go up to make that top wick. Even though I understood that the 4-hour was bearish, it needs a top wick. All right, it needs a top wick, and also we're kind of in the middle of some supports right here. So yeah, price may reject from that point on. Nevertheless, it's still against the 4-hour, so keep that in mind. The 1-hour was bullish, not the best closure here for the 1-hour, but still bullish. Okay, so we had a great closure here. The next one wicked down, made a high and came back down. I would have loved to have a closure like this, a stronger closure, but my intuition said that this was enough, aligning with everything else on the 30 and on the 15. So if you look at the 30 as well, not the best closure too. So we have a fresh support here, a bullish closure. We have this almost doji candle on the 30, and then definitely a doji candle on the 30, this one. And yeah, this one broke the previous lows. This is the important part right here. It broke the previous lows, and now it's starting to break its own high. So if price wants to go down, why would it break the lows and come back up? Maybe it doesn't want to go down, right? So yeah, that's why I entered here, aligning also with the 15. Look at this. This looked amazing. Okay, this is actually the reason I took the trade, was this 15. So candles tell a story, right? Look at this. So we had this bullish candle close above this resistance. The next one formed a fresh resistance, and the next one closed above, forming a fresh support. All right, so now the ranges that we have is this area right here. But as you can see, the next candle closed inverted seller. It went up, respected the previous highs, and closed bearish. But it didn't close below this resistance. It stayed above. Now look at the next one. The next one closed above the new resistance formed right here. All right, so it broke these lows, gave the wick to this candle right here, and came back up to close above that resistance here. So what do we know about rejection wicks? I tell this every time on my live streams too. If we have a candle closing like this, and let's say this forms a resistance right here, right? So that wick of that candle is a rejection wick. But when we have this closure, a closure above resistance, so now this wick here becomes a wick fill. All right, entering here, this wick right there becomes a wick fill. So if you look at this example, this candle closed above this resistance, so now these wicks become wick fill. I had my buy stops on this candle. This was enough for me at this point. But I have a rule. I have to delete my stops when it's the last 5 minutes of the candle. So I deleted. And now I think on the last 5 minutes, this candle, if I remember correctly, it was still looking something like this. So I'm like, yo, you know what? Let's see how this one closes. Maybe we get a celery. Maybe we get a fresh resistance and a fresh breakout. Let's see. So yeah, and it gave me a celery. Look at this. Celery closure with a pack runner right here. And still above this resistance. At this point, I don't need a huge bottom wick on this candle, right? Because it was the second half of the candle. So if this was the 30, it was the second half of the 30, okay? So I didn't need that huge bottom wick. It broke the highs, wicks to fill. I had my partials right here on this wick, and I let the rest run to fill this one, right? And look where the resistance was, right there. So again, I understood I was against the 4 hour. That's why I wasn't that greedy, right? So I saw this wick right here, and I said, all right, that's my full TP. Close partials right here on this wick fill. So amazing trade. Back runner, celery, breakout, everything aligned except the 4 hour, but I got to take it. I will just take it and not be greedy about it. It's not a trade to leave a runner because it was against the trend. All right, moving on to the third trade. It was on a Wednesday. It was an NQ trade. Let's go. Gotta love NQ nowadays. NQ, it was the previous 4 hour closed. Yeah, I gotta say bullish, right? But not the best bullish closure. Almost doji closure. The next 1 week down, went up and tapped target right here, right? This is the 4 hour target. Every time I do my analysis on the charts, I ask myself, is the 4 hour going to a target or has it tapped target? And in this scenario, it tapped target. So at that point, obviously the 4 hour can still, go up, right? But according to my analysis and data, I understand that most times when the 4 hour taps target, it starts to reject, right? So I took advantage of that and I took a sell. On the 1 hour, yeah, okay, so this square right here, it was the target tap on the 4 hour right here. The 1 hour wicked up, tapped it and closed below this support right here. So we got an onion on the 1 hour and 30-minute onion as well. Obviously, we were above these areas right here, okay? Keep in mind that, but also keep in mind, this is like volume time, right? This was volume time, London Open time. So there's a lot of volume. I don't think that would be an issue, right? I didn't think that. So I took it based on the target tap concept on the 4 hour and the 1 hour onion along with the 30-minute onion. And on the 15, I also got an extra confirmation. So I was waiting for this candle to close below, but it didn't, right? Or it kind of did, but not with the bottom wick though. So there's no entry for me here. So now this candle closed below, giving us a breakout. And look at the next one. The next one gave us a pack runner right here. It broke the previous highs and started to break the previous lows. So at this point, I got to take this trade. 4-hour tap target, 1-hour onion, 30-minute onion, 50-minute breakout with a pack runner. You see how everything aligns? It's a puzzle. So I got to execute on this. Execution is my edge. I don't care if it's a loss. It's not up to me. What is up to me is execute on this. All right, guys? So that's what I'm going to do. Amazing trade. I took this on the live stream as well. Okay, so moving on to the loss of the week. All right, so this one was the only loss I took this week, right? It was on NQ, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what went through my mind, and I'm gonna tell you what I could have done differently. All right, so this is the importance of going back to your trades, is you realizing that, you know what, I could have avoided this one, or I could have managed this one differently. It doesn't matter on what level you are. That's what you should do every step of the way. All right, so right here, the 4-hour, the previous one was bearish. It made a high, right? It made a high like this, I don't know, somewhere here. Then went down, broke the previous lows, and then it started to reject. So now at this point, the 4-hour started to reject it and come back up, right? I entered here on the 4-hour on the break of the current highs, more or less. I can't really remember, but more or less, right? Now, the 1-hour closed bullish, okay? I entered on this one, by the way. This one, not that one. I entered on this one. So the 1-hour was bullish. Obviously, you know, there's a resistance here on the 1-hour. And it was, you know, when I took the buy, the 1-hour was looking like this, right? So at this point, it was breaking these highs too. Not a bad trade. Obviously, it's a good trade, and I'm going to show you the other time frames. But we can understand that, like, the move up, you know, it had happened at the time. So we can discuss if we need a pullback or not. All right, let's move on to the 30, and this is everything for me, right? So the 30. This one closed bullish above this area, but still below this one. And it's exactly where we had the resistance formed on the 30. Resistance formed on the 30, the next one gave us a kind of a range 2 buys on the 30, right? So it went up, broke above these areas and this area too, and closed above this resistance. The next one wicked down, tapped these levels more or less, and broke the previous highs. Right? Now, here's the thing, guys. That was the trade, okay? And if you look at the 15, yeah, we had a breakout on the 15. This one wicked down and broke the previous highs. But here's the thing: when you take a trade like this, like your stop loss has to be, or it makes sense to be, below this low right here, or I mean below these lows right here, right? It makes sense to be there because this was the candle that broke out, right? We had a breakout on this candle. So it makes sense that the price, even if it wants to go up, to respect these lows right here, not the current lows, right? And in my case, I didn't put the stop loss below the current low because the current low was around here. I put my stop loss below this area right here, this rectangle. That's where my stop loss was. And it activated my stops and went straight to my TP, as you can see on the next screenshot. So 2 things I could have done differently on this one. One, probably what you guys are thinking, and I agree, is, bro, just don't take this one, right? Yes, I can see that happen. I can see it go up without you, but just don't take it because it's not the best one, right? Wait for some kind of pullback, or if it goes without you, at that point you can maybe, you know, look for some sells. It's a target tap concept, something like that. I don't know. So that's option number 1. Option number 2, if you do decide to take this one, at least use the right stop loss. Right? Maybe not. Right is not the right word, but you know, use the stop loss that makes more sense. And that would be what I drew here on the next screenshot below these lows right here. All right, because price broke above this range. We don't want to use the stop loss in the middle of the range. We got to use it below the range and also below the low of the candle that broke out. All right, good trade. We move on. All right, it was a big loss because I went heavy on one of my accounts. That's why it's a big loss. But we move on. All right, and I remember Andre from the past would would freak out about this one. Oh, I lost, it went my way. I need the money back. I need to revenge trade. And I figured it out that doesn't make me a successful trader. So I had to stop it. I locked the account out, and tomorrow is another day. All right. One trade means nothing. One account means nothing. One means nothing. It's the one every single day, the same one, like the good habits, the performance, right? Taking a step forward every single day, not focusing on the money, but on the progress, right, guys? So if you can do that, no matter what you lose, you will take a step forward and come back to trade the next day. All right, so last trade was on a Friday, and what do we have here? Okay, so right, so the 4 hour, this one closed bullish, right? It closed bullish, but this topic right here, I consider this a no top wick candle, right? A no top wick candle, at least for the 4 hour, right? The next one kind of closed bearish. I don't know why I zoomed in that much, but yeah, there's a rejection wick here, a rejection wick there. So the 4 hour is kind of messy, right? But yes, it did close bearish. The next one made a low, came back up, broke the previous lows, and now it started to come back up right here. Okay, I marked the 4 hour resistance here because that's going to be my partials on the trade. I'm going to show you. So the 1 hour closed bearish right here, but above these levels are right here too, and also with no bottom wick. Sorry, the 1 hour closed with no bottom. The next one wicked down, broke the previous lows, and it was starting to go up. Okay, looking at the 30, same thing happened. Right, I didn't enter on this one. I entered on that one. Right, so we had a closure below on the 30, below these areas. The next one broke the previous lows, which this one closed without a bottom wick. The next one broke the previous lows and was starting to come back up. Right, so the entry was on the 15, but expecting the 30 to go. Right, look at the 15. We had this area right here, which we kind of had a fake out, right? So now this candle closed below, no bottom wick or a small one. Next one broke the previous lows and closed back above, right? That's a fake out. That's one of the playbooks. I got to take this one, all right? And I did. So this candle made a low and broke the previous highs right here, okay? And I had my partials right there. As you can see, this yellow line was the 4 hour resistance. So partials hit, and the rest I got stopped out at break even. Good trade. Good trade. That's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And look at this. One trade a day keeps the 9 to 5 away. We don't need more. All right. Doing less is actually better for you. You don't need to take a trade. You need to find the opportunity, the right one. You need to find your edge in the market and execute without hesitation. And let just the plan go. Plan the trade. Trade the plan. Okay, and it was an amazing month. Look at the start. I started the month quite red right here, and I was thinking, you know what, this might be the first red month I had in a while. Well, not really, right? So it turned around, and not with the most profit month, but a green month. So that's what we want. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. All right. And check out our new community, SMP Academy. The link to the Discord is on the description as well of the video. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Have an amazing weekend. Peace.